Hey, I'm Jeremy, and this is The Science of Design. So today I'm going to talk about color and luminance or luminosity, and this is how you separate an image into its tonal and color values. Why you might want to do that is because it really kind of tells you about how people perceive things, about how people actually see your image. And it kind of breaks it down scientifically. So let's talk about this. So we all know that we can separate an image, and usually images are specified in red, green, and blue. But that's not the only way to describe an image. I mean, that's a good way to describe it because we have red, green, and blue sensors in our eyes. We have red, green, and blue lights on our monitors. We have cyan, magenta, and yellow, which absorb red, green, and blue in our printing process. But if you actually want to talk about how people perceive things, the best way to go is with luminance and color. So let me show you what that looks like. Luminance or luminosity has the much more interesting name, but kind of a more boring look. It's basically a black and white image. Let me show you. This is the luminance channel. And then the color channels, somewhat more boring name, but a kind of weird, cool looking image. I'll show it to you right now. This is the color. There's actually two channels. There's a they can have different names. Sometimes you have A and B and a lab color, LAB. You can also break color down in terms of hue and saturation. YCRCB is common in video. And let me show you what it looks like in a more detailed image. So you take this shot here with this mix of reds and greens. This is what it looks like in luminosity, and this in color. So I'm going to explain this in a bit more detail. I'm going to bring up cyan, magenta, and yellow here. Now these all have the same RGB values, but look what happens when we go into the luminance channel. You notice that the yellow here is much brighter than the cyan and the magenta, and that's how we see it in real life, and that's how the luminance channel is based. It's based on human perception, not literal RGB values. And human perception is the whole reason we're separating it out like this. You see, people see luminance, they see tones, they see black and white much, much better than they see the details in color. We certainly see color, but we see large blocks of color. Like this is blue, and this is flesh toned, like pink orangish, and that's white. But we don't see like little differences. Like you can see little, difference in shading here that you would see. That's all in the luminance channel, or mostly in the luminance channel. And that means that you can really break down an image or a design or whatever you're doing in terms of luminance and color. And really, luminance is where people see the detail. Colors are where people see broad strokes. And this has implications, obviously, for design, but in particular for compression. Like YouTube is compressing the hell out of this video to show it to you. And one of the ways they're doing that is they're taking this color channel and they're just degrading the hell out of it. In fact, you may not see a lot of detail in here because YouTube has compressed it a lot. And that's what JPEG compression does. That's what a lot of them do. So I'm going to do a little experiment here. I'm going to take this image and I'm going to separate it out into luminance and color. And I'm going to take the color and I'm going to reduce the resolution, just like this. Bloop. Okay, now I'm going to bring it back up, bloop, bring it back together. And now I'm going to take the things that are together now, and I'm going to reduce the resolution on the color, just like you just saw, but combined. So here we go. We're going to go down. We're at 100% resolution. Boop. Okay, now we're at 50% resolution. Now you almost certainly don't see a difference, in part because this is on YouTube and it's been compressed, and this is part of what happens in that process. Another part is my camera actually does some compression. My camera is what you call a 422 camera. I'm not exactly sure about this whole HDMI connection, but this is actually what 422 means. It means that the color resolution is half the luminance resolution. So we're at 422 right now. So you almost certainly don't see a difference. But that's all right. We're gonna take it even further down. We're gonna go way down slowly to 5%. Now that's pretty compressed. Now, so the luminance is at full 100% HD resolution. Color is only at 5%. And it doesn't look that good, but I could actually just go smudge it out, blur it a bit, and it actually looks okay. Not great, but okay. But remember, we're at 5% here. But you can clearly see, look, you can clearly see the head, the shirt, you can probably see, some colors in the books back there. Not a lot, but you can see a little bit. And then, let's say you can raise it to 20% maybe. And yeah, it actually looks pretty good. And so you can get away, and that's, colors are 2 out of the 3 channels. So you can get away with a lot of compression. And this is actually what YouTube does. This is how YouTube and other, your DVD player, everything else, saves room. All right, so for a practical example, I'm going to go into Photoshop and take this image of New York City. And it's a little bit dull. It was a cloudy day, so I'm going to increase the contrast. Going to add some curves. Going to, bring up the whites, knock out the blacks, and put a little S-curve in here. And then really knock these down. Okay. So you notice that it's definitely added some contrast here, but at the price of boosting these colors a bit. And so what you can do is you can operate only on the luminance instead of on the colors. And the way you do that is you go into the layers, what they call the blending modes, and you go into luminosity. So it operates only on the luminance. As you can see, it increased the contrast without increasing the colors. And you can do just the opposite. If you go to color, you're operating only on the color channels, and it's just going to boost the saturation of the colors without boosting the values. But I actually want this. But what's useful for color is, let's say you want to tint something. So let's say you have, let's just create a new, what do you call it? A fill layer. Thank you, solid color. And we're going to use, I don't know, like some sort of bluish tone here, like a bluish cyan, or maybe a little bit less saturated. And then, of course, now it's just totally blue. But if you go into the color mode, you just create everything in that blue color, but you keep all the luminance. So this is a nice practical way of using this. And if you're wondering how I did that luminance color thing in the video, I did it in Premiere, obviously, but it's the same principle in Photoshop. So what I did is I created a new fill layer, and I did a solid color, and I made this one neutral gray. And so it's exactly 50%, which is 128, 128, 128. And then you set, because you want the gray, to do the luminance channel, you have the gray only transfer with the color. So that's luminance channel. And with the luminance, and if you want color, it's exact opposite. So there you go. So that's how you do it. So anyway, that kind of explains luminance and color, and kind of how, in a lot of ways, how our eyes work. And so I hope you guys learned something. Hope you found this interesting. If you do, tell me. If you don't, tell me too. And if you want, like and subscribe. And you can check out my other channel, which I'll link below, which is more tutorials on Blender. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. All right, thank you. And I'll show you luminance and color to take this out.